Hello there, Becky here from Chimera Crafty. Welcome to my first fibre dyeing tutorial. So the fibre that I'm going to be dyeing is Shropshire, which is a British breed. It's combed top, and this is the stuff that I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to take you through every step, every part of the process. Please bear in mind that if you're going to try dyeing at home, dyeing with a Y, at home you must wear the appropriate personal protective equipment. Now I use masks, gloves and also aprons whilst I'm working, very important to keep your clothes tidy and also to protect your chest and your lungs. So here we go, I'm going to get started. I hope you enjoy. Feel free to let me know if you have liked it by either liking the video or drop me a comment. Let me know if you find it interesting, if it was useful to you. So let's get started. So here is the fibre. I've weighed out 100 grams. This is the Shropshire. Now if you look, you can see there is a little bit of VM or vegetable matter as it's known, and basically this is like straw, things like that, grasses, that sort of idea. It's an occupational hazard. I do go through my fibre really quite thoroughly, generally speaking, after it's dyed, to get rid of as much of that as is possible. However, some small traces may still remain. So yeah, this is just plain dry combed top Shropshire breed, as I've said. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to soak it. So here we go, I'm popping the fibre in to just some plain water. So I'm going to push it down very gently. Now, if you've watched my previous dyeing tutorial, you'll know that the biggest advice and best advice that I can give is, of course, handling wool very, very lightly, very, very carefully. So I'm being super careful because with combed top or any other fibre, felting risk is real. So there we go. Now then, you can see it opening up. You can see the air bubbles coming up to the top. Pop that down. Now this will need to soak just like yarn does. I'm going to leave it to soak for, it'll be around about maybe an hour. Possibly less than that, but we'll see how it looks. There we go. So checking back in, it's been around about half an hour or thereabouts. So let's have a little look. And you can see there's no significant air bubbles left. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see how that fibre is really fluffed up with the water. This means it's going to take the dye really nicely. So there we go. I am going to use a stovetop method of dyeing. So the next shot you will see, and I can't show you me lifting this out of the water on account of the fact that it's so delicate and fragile. I need both hands to make sure that it doesn't kind of just fall apart as I do it. So the next shot you see, I will be showing you my steamer tray. So here is my steamer tray. It's just got some tepid water and vinegar for the acid. Of course I use acid dyes, and you need the acid to react with the dye pigment, and then when you apply heat, that's what causes it to fix to the fibre. So I haven't got a huge amount of water in here. There's perhaps a litre. There's only a little bit. If I dibble my fingers in, you can see. So here we have the pigments that I'm going to use. We have purple, blue, green, quite dark green, and a like softer yellow. It's not super bright. So I'm using the 4, and what I'm aiming for is just to sort of divide the steamer pot into 4 and pour these dyes in. Now I have prepared these from my powders that you can see in the background there. Now I always wear a mask. It needs to be a super fancy dust mask, because the fine pigments in, the fine powders in the pigment can be really quite bad for you. I didn't film myself doing that because you wouldn't have been able to hear me talk. There we go. So these are the colours. So this is the pre-soaked fibre. I've just given it a little squeeze to get rid of some of the excess water. You can see there's a few darker guard hairs in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to arrange this in my tray, which is on my gas hob, by the way, and that's what I'll show you next. So here you can see how I have arranged the fibre in the pan. I've sort of laid it backwards and forwards, or rather side to side, like this, all the way up. So this is a full 100 grams. Now you can see, because I squeezed it out of the pre-soak water, it's taken up this the little bit of acidic water that was in here really, really well. Now that's good, because that hopefully means that the dye is going to stick effectively. So let's go grab my dyes. Okay, so I'm going to start with purple. I'm going to gently pour some right on this section. Now, like I said earlier on, what I'm aiming for is to kind of divide this fibre roughly, mentally speaking, into 4, and place the 4 colours on there. So that is the purple pretty much done. Let's have a look. A little bit of a dibble with my fingers. This water is still cold. I've not applied heat yet. Obviously I wouldn't go putting my fingers in hot water. My children often say that I have got asbestos hands, but let's not test that at the moment. So let's move on to the blue. We're going to place the blue next to the purple. There we go. It's looking good. Ooh, sorry about the focus. It's quite tricky doing this one-handed. There we are. So that's the blue done. Let's have a look. Let's zoom back. A little bit of a dibble with my fingers. There we are. So if I move the fibre out a little bit, you can see the underneath is a little bit paler, but it will still be blue. I think part of the beauty of this method is the different like tonal values that you get. I do really enjoy it when the dyes mix as well. So let's move on to green next. Oh, I'm going to pop this up at the top. You can see I want to do about half of what's left with the green. There we go. Let's see how that looks. There we are. And then finally, I think we'll do this last little section with the yellow. There's a little bit of a sort of knot of fibre there. Let's move that around. Make sure it's taking some of that green dye up. Again, like I've said earlier, very, very important. It's really key to handle fibre and any wool yarn as lightly as possible, just because of the felting risk. And then let me grab my yellow. Here we go. Let's get right up into the end there. There we go. And give it a little bit of a dibble with my fingers. Is dibble a Yorkshire word? Is it somewhere? Is it a word that's used all over? I don't know. There we go. So yeah, let's zoom back a little bit so you can see. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to apply some heat. I will show that happening, but I need to sort of get it sorted and safe before I film it. So that's what will be next. So here we are, we've applied a little bit of heat. You can sort of see it steaming very, very gently. Now it's very important, I do not want this to boil in any way, shape or form, again because the agitation of the bubbles, if you get too much of that, it can cause it to felt. So this is just a couple of minutes later. You can see that it's really steaming, nice and hot, and the dye is beginning to be taken up. There's still quite a lot of it in the water, so we're not there yet. If I zoom out so that you can see the whole tray, I think that's looking really good. Now what I would do as a solution, if this all of the dye wasn't taken up in the pan, is I would actually pop a mini skein in or something like that and use it almost like a dye mop. Again, this is another sort of low waste practice to make sure that I use every bit of pigment that I possibly can. Oh, just noticed right down here, look. There we go. So yeah, you can see that the water is a little bit cool, a little bit paler, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to leave this cooking. Obviously you have to stand with it and make sure nothing untoward happens. And the next time I take some footage, all being well, the dye bath will have been spent. There we go. So here we are, we're very nearly done. If I use my spatula to just pop it in, you can see that water is clear. It's mostly clear. There's still a little bit of pigment in a couple of areas, like, oh no, that's actually looking all right, it was just shadow. But yeah, so I'm going to leave it cooking for just a tiny bit longer. Oh, there we go, there's still a little bit of green around there. So it's not quite done, but very, very nearly. If I zoom back, you can see how those colours have blended really beautifully. I'm going to be very interested to see how this turns out. There we go. So here we are, rinsing. How fab is that? I'm really pleased with it. The water's clear, which means that the dye's taken properly, and it is looking really good. So what I'm going to do, this is just plain water, sort of tepid, slightly, maybe slightly warmer than that. Just let it soak for a little while and very, very gently squeeze it to get rid of the excess water. And then I am going to dry it. Now I'll just be hanging it to dry, and it will take a little while for it to do so. Fibre always takes a little bit longer for me. So yes, how fabulous. So what did you think? I hope you enjoyed that. Would you like a sneaky peek? It's just about dry. I'll show you. So here we go. If you remember the way that I laid it out in the pan and kind of divided it up into 4 to let the colours flow from one to the next, I think that this has pretty much worked. Very pretty. I might have to keep this one for myself, I'm really not sure. I really like it. There we go. Well, I really hope you enjoyed that. I hope you like the end results. I will share proper photographs on my social media over the next couple of days of the braid that we worked on today. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. PM is fine as well if you would rather message. Okay, take care. Bye.